This girl, don't we? We're going to be adding her loops in, and so that'll be kind of similar to what we did the other day, so it'll just be a little bit more practice. And I've got my list of things that we're going to do back here. So we're going to add loops to the other side of the corset. We're going to make a modesty panel. It's today's to-do list. And we're going to sew the panel in correctly. Sew it in correctly. It sounded like I said we're going to sew it incorrectly, which sometimes we do, let's be honest. So let's get started with these loops. And here is the little bit of fabric that we're going to need for the modesty panel. Let me see if I can move this. I don't know if I can put this where you guys can see it, but it won't fall off. I would love for there to be a way that like people who are just joining can see what we're going to do, but obviously that's going to be in the way of my machine. So we can't leave that there. Let's see here. I want you to be able to see my sewing. All right, so if you guys remember from the other day, can you hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear me. And also, per usual, tell me where you're coming from today, and are you sewing on something? I would love to hear that. Let's get this started on here. All right. So we got to get back down in here, and we've got to mark our stuff. Now, what I like to do is make sure, even though we're going to measure, I want to make sure that this bottom loop is going to end over here the same place that it ended over here. That's going to mean a lot to me. So before we just kind of marked the distance between each loop, we did an inch, and we'll do that again today, but we've got to know exactly where does this train end, all right? Let's find its station that it's going to stop at right here. And I marked that inside of there. Everybody, make sure you drop a heart emoji if you love these calls. I love doing them, and I hope you love them too. And let me know if you ever learn anything on these calls, or if it's all just for reassurance for what you typically do. That is probably what I hear more commonly than just you're here to learn. There's plenty of people that are here to learn, but there's a lot of people who just like to know, like, oh, okay, I am doing it the right way, or yeah, somebody else does do it that way. And the philosophy on this channel is, you know, we used to say, nowadays, I guess it's not politically correct, but we used to say there's more than one way to skin a cat. That was a little Southern saying, but I guess I would say there's lots of different ways to get a really nice end result. We don't have to all sew things the same way. So we very much have that philosophy here. So if you've been looking for a kind sewing community that's not like my way or the highway, this is it. You have found it. That is how we roll. All right, so I'm gonna put pins in here. I marked the center of where each of these loops were happening. And guys, it's your lucky day. I remembered to put on lotion before the call today, so you don't have to look at my gnarly hands. We can typically not use lotion with bridal sewing because it can leave oil marks. Oh yes, it can. So we have very dry hands a lot of times because the textiles kind of tend to dry our hands out, and then we can't use lotion. So it's like a double whammy. All right, that's our second one. Now we're gonna do our third one. If you want to see this done a little bit more slowly and have all of my thoughts kind of stream of consciousness kind of thing with this, you can watch Wednesday's live stream. I did it a little bit more slowly. All right, I just feel like this guy's not looping out quite enough. Let's see if we can tighten this up. Gotta tighten it up. Also, I thought it would be great to go over this because not everybody could make it to the call Wednesday, to the live stream. Also, a lot of people can't make it right on time. So I did not want to start with just the modesty panel, and then when you guys log in, you're just lost. It's half done. I didn't want to do that to you. So here we go. Make sure you hit subscribe. There's so many new people filtering through here, and the beauty of hitting subscribe is you won't lose track of me. One of these days you're going to be like, now, who was that girl? I remember seeing, who was that? I have this one vlogger YouTuber years ago. I used to love watching her. I thought I was subscribed. Maybe her channel got deleted. I don't know, but I can't find her anymore. And I'm so sad about that. So it's a good way to be able to keep track of people as long as they keep their channel going. All right, so I'm sewing these through and I'm pulling the pins out as I get to them. One tip that makes a huge difference, guys, I'm trying to list out a bunch of tips and just do a tips video. Wouldn't that be nice? But one tip that makes a huge difference is make sure when you pin something that, let me show you. Okay, this, pull it up here. If you need to pin two things together, you could pin like this, right? With this big gap. Or you can still make sure you get both level layers and pin like that with a very small gap. See the difference? This pin is going to be 1,000 times more accurate than this other one because it just doesn't give much room for wiggling around. And this gives the fabrics access to this much stretch and motion. So always try to do the shortest little pin that you can. Not the pin, but you know what I mean, the way you pin it. I don't know what the word is for that, but that is a huge tip. And like most tips, it's easy to be like, oh, that's no big deal, and just forget about it. But it's massive. It's a big help. All right, so we've got these 4 in, and I know I've done it just right because I've got that heat erasable ink right there. And my Ridgeline. Oh my goodness, is it missing again? I promise you, after the live stream Wednesday, I found the Ridgeline that was missing. I found it. It was over there. And I thought I put it back, and it's missing again. So I bet you my girls needed it. I made 2 sticks of boning though, Wednesday. You remember that? Oh, here it is. Here's that other stick I made. You hear me struggling off camera? There's an off-camera struggle. Let me tell you, every day around here, there's an off-camera struggle. And look at this. This is one of her straps. Goes into this little seam right here, right at the waist where the bodice and the waist meet. I'm really gonna wanna double over that a few times. It just has a few stitches holding that in place. We're not gonna leave it like that. All right, so let us, you don't wanna put it here because look, it could peek out. Let us talk about this boning. It's gonna go inside right? Right to the outside of the seam allowance, okay? So we're not gonna sew it to the dress. Sometimes when I'm putting in like a grommet corset, a corset that's got lots of boning and is gonna be under a good bit of pressure, I do definitely bone it on the inside of the bodice along the loops. And then I also bone it to the outside of the seam allowance as well, just for like double duty. But we're not doing that today. All right, so I gotta find that where I stitched, stitch right along it so I don't stitch my loops closed. That would not be good. Stitch right along this. And then I'm gonna stop right at the bottom of those loops. I can do more later. I don't wanna go too far because remember, we gotta put that zipper in there. So that's part of today's live stream too. We need to kind of amend our list here. All right, I'm gonna peek at this real quick and make sure that there's no funny business going on. How's the weather where you're at? Is it beautiful? And where you sew, do you get to look out the window? This looks great. So the next time I sew in, I can go a little bit closer to those loops. That is all the assurance I needed. I have a window out here that I get to look at, and it's kind of above me, which is neat. Like, it's not me looking out the window down at stuff going on. Like, when I look out, I see treetops in the sky, which I think is lovely. All right. Hit the sunshine emoji if it's sunny where you're at, and if it's raining where you're at, hit the rain emoji. Just the drop. You can do the drop, or you can do the clouds with the thunderstorm. And then also tell me, have you ever put in a corset before? All right, here we go. Time for the boning. Also, if you've put in a corset, is this the way you do it? I'd love to hear that. All right, so remember, we're gonna bump down and we're gonna sew a little bit to the right of that prior seam so that we don't crowd things too much and make the, you want a nice crisp edge that those loops come out of. You don't want a knobby round edge. All right, so we're gonna get this sewn in here. All the way down. Okay. Now let's look at our zipper situation. I feel like people get kind of like mentally worked up about zippers, and it's really not that big of a deal. A lot of it is just like aligning your stuff. I'm so sorry for clearing my throat and choking and carrying on in your ears. I did something really stupid the other day. I was so mad. All right, I'm gonna mark where the zipper is going in. I'm gonna mark it on the other half of the zipper. So I was cleaning my shower stall at the house, and I normally have the kind of, we have well water, so it's just a mess. But I normally have like the bleach spray that is the foaming kind that like, you know, it hits the wall and sticks to it. Well, this must have been a different kind. I must have just grabbed the wrong kind and didn't realize. I'm not like a guru about my cleaners. Probably should be, but anyhow. This was, it smelled like straight up bleach, and it was a mist. I'm like, how is that legal? Like, we know that's a carcinogen. Why is that legal? That's just terrible. So yeah, I burnt I burnt my nose and my lungs. Like, I'm so sensitive to chemicals like that, and it caused a reaction. So I'm not sleeping well right now or anything. I'm pretty miserable. All right, so we're gonna sew in this zipper. Again, the main thing is just making sure that you've got all your landmarks kind of marked. I need to change this foot. I'll show you the foot we're gonna use. I've got this foot on it right now. Okay, and we're changing to this one that lets me get really close. Oh, guys, let me know. I have an opportunity to go back to New York City, the garment district. I'm so sorry. I wish I had like a cough button here to hit mute for you. In a couple of weeks, so, or a few weeks, I guess. September, it's like 9th, 10th, 11th. And what do you think about that? Would you like another walkabout in the garment district like I did last time? I could do that. I have a meeting that I was invited to. It's, I guess it's Fashion Week or something. I don't really keep track of regular Fashion Week. I keep track of New York Bridal Fashion Week. But I think they were saying it's Fashion Week. I need to look it up. And honestly, you know, hotels and everything, they're so much more expensive when there's events like that going on and you want to stay in the garment district. So it's not cheap. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, if I want to go or not. I am not a fan of crowds. And I know that sounds crazy. You're like, well, you're talking about going to Manhattan. Well, yes. Yes and no. I feel like it's not always that crowded. All right, I'm gonna finish sewing this boning down. Here's the rest of the zipper. Remember, we're gonna have this just veer off until we can check the fit with the bride and know that we don't have to raise or lower the zipper. And when I sew this boning down, it's gonna be sewing the lining to the zipper tape, okay? That's where we're at. If ever you get lost while I'm sewing, just hang in there. A lot of times it just comes together in a few minutes. So hang in there. And I'm going to read your comments in just a minute. Let me know how long you've been sewing. I would love to hear that. All right, here goes the lining now. Our happy little lining. All right, and I need to make sure I get that strap in there and double sewn. I'm really concerned about that spaghetti strap. I want to make sure. It's so hard, guys, not to be coughing right now. Don't you hate that? Suppressing a cough. You feel like your eyes are gonna bulge out or something. All right, here we go. I have the lav mics now, which are great for background noise, right? But they're right in your face, so I feel like you guys can kind of overhear everything. All right, here we go. Really reinforcing that strap. She can't break. She would have to rip if she was gonna break now, because she's been sewn maybe four times. All right, here we go. Let's look at the back. Lovely. Lovely. Nice. Okay, so now we're gonna zip it and see if everything aligns. Yes, it does. It's beautiful. Drop a heart emoji if you love it. Now I'm gonna show you the ways that we finish this off, okay? So right at the top of the zipper, and it's not even pressed yet, it's doing great. Right at the top of the zipper is where we're gonna do our hook and loop, because you don't ever want the zipper head to have to deal with the responsibility of keeping the zipper closed together. It's just too much responsibility. It's like leaving a 12-year-old home alone to babysit 2 or 3 kids. Just too much. It's not it's not her fault she gave them ice cream for dinner and lost one of the kids. It's not the zipper's fault that it broke if you didn't hook the hook and loop, right? All right. So I'm gonna knot this, and I need to find a hook. Here's our hook. Okay. And this varies by country. A lot of times when I see dresses that have an Italian design, I see the hook on the right side. I don't know what it is with Italy, but I see that a lot. I'm gonna go clear through, and you may not agree with that because it might be a little bit visible. That's okay if you don't agree with that. Don't do it for the dresses you work on. But I just really want this to be very secure. Tip from my doctor, again, I need to write that down, my tips video. When the going gets tough, use a tool. Otherwise, it's your joints that have to bear the brunt of all that work. And you only get one set of joints, right? All right, so I've knotted that twice. I knotted it at the start, looped it through, knotted it again. Now we're gonna sew our hook in. Now the hook and loop, the strength of it, it's gonna be determined by a couple of things. If this were a larger girl, more curvy, or if we were doing a corset that's really meant to kind of shift any amount of body mass, I would be doing a very strong hook, and I would be using upholstery thread, okay? This girl is quite slight, so there's not gonna be a lot of pressure on this corset at all. So we'll just do the regular hook and loop at the top of it. So adjust your hook and loop accordingly. It's so, I don't know, disappointing to me when I get dresses in where it's like the dress is like a 16 and the hook and loop are just these little bitty things that you would find on the back of like a Shein bridesmaid's dress or something. But you look at the tag and it's like the girl paid $400 for the dress. Just so disappointing. All right, so I've sewn through those little circles here at the base of the hook. I've sewn through them 2 or 3 times now, and I've knotted it a couple times. I grabbed it up here at that fold of the hook. I grabbed that twice. Oh, let me tell you guys, I have this, it's this new extension. You know how you can install like Chrome extensions or whatever? I have this new extension that, I don't know, it tries to give me unsolicited advice. I'm not a big fan. Well, as you guys know, I'm not a fan of unsolicited advice in general, but I didn't ask it to analyze my YouTube video. I don't think I did. It was talking about my last live stream, and it was like, your, how did it word it? Your intonation is a very slow pace with not much variability in it. And it was like, try doing your voice up and down, like for more excitement and energy. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah, okay. AI thinks it knows everything, doesn't it? I'm like, that's not what people are cluing in for on my channel. This is very much a calming kind of channel, right? Very much a calming channel. Drop me a heart if you like the calm ambiance of my channel. I get messages about that all the time, how much it means to people. So I try to make sure. All right. This is a different type of loop I'm showing you. It's a little bit stronger than the kind where you do like the crochet style tailor's tack. I just did 3 large stitches and now I'm lashing them together. Now, why is this stronger? Because the one that you do, like that crochet type, you know what I'm talking about, where you go like this. The one where you do that is only as strong as your thread. This one is as strong as, I've got 2 threads, so they're already doubled up. And then I stitched 3 times. So it's much stronger for using a lightweight thread, if that makes sense. So you can almost break a thread and it still work, which is nice. Some people do this and they knot it each time they go along the loop. That's just fine too. It kind of looks cool. See, I'm doing it. But I feel like it's kind of unnecessary. It's just like a little fancy touch. All right, I'm gonna hide the tail. So we've got our loop in. Now we have to make our modesty panel. We've got our hook and loop there, zipper, and we have to do our modesty panel. I made the modesty panel a little bit bigger than I needed to, just so you guys could kind of see what one would look like. So I typically make it extend like an inch or 2 wider than what the V will be. And this bride's V is only a few inches wide. So I do that. And then I typically only come down an inch or 2 below the zipper, but I made this come a little bit lower down. It doesn't really matter if you make it a little bit longer. So I'm gonna show you how to do the structure of that. Let's see if I can use my little iron. I'll show you. You guys sometimes ask about this heat erasable. Let's see. Can you see that? There, it's gone. Let's see if there's another one over here. Yeah. See those right there? Just run some heat over them. If I can actually get to it. Yeah. There you go. See, they disappear. That's how that works. I don't normally get to do that on camera for you over here. All right, modesty panel time. Let me read your comments. Got all my stuff sitting out here. And the other thing that's not sitting out here is going to be the boning that we put in here. And I'll teach you all about that. I want to say hi to everybody. Nice. Aluko, you can hear me clearly. That's awesome. Oh, Erica, I have a bride I'm currently working on that I'm installing a corset for. Nice. No average girl gets a window. That's nice. Laura, I have 3 windows. One is stained glass. Janet, it's hot. It's Colorado. Okay, how do you deal with heat and thin air, Janet? That sounds particularly challenging. Miss Giselle says corset back alteration is definitely one of the most common alterations. Wow. Mary says no to corset, proving that a lot of times the corset trend can be a regional trend. It really can. No average girl, sewing since 15, but decided to turn it into a business about 10 years ago. Oh, Laura, how nostalgic. She's been sewing probably around 60 years, starting with doll clothes, patterns drawn on the newspaper. Vanessa dropping a heart. It's good to see you, Vanessa. Yes, we don't need any more dramatics than necessary. A heart to calmness. That's right. Nice. Oh, Laura, you accidentally bought a marking pencil that takes water to remove. Don't you hate that when you just buy the wrong thing? And that's so annoying. Like, you've got your mind set on what you think you're getting, and then there you go. I do that kind of stuff. Okay, so for this, let's see. I'm gonna do this thinner boning, and this is kind of how we measure it out. I just go like this. Across the top is gonna be about that much. This is how rocket science it is, guys. Absolute rocket science going on here. Absolute rocket science. Okay, so I'm gonna put a couple across the back that needs to be like sprung out where the corset is. And then I'm gonna do one a little bit further down just to keep it from like bunching up, okay? So we're gonna do that. Ta-da. Easy peasy. And here's our caps. Did I tell you about this time that I had, it was so funny. This repairman was, I think he was actually working here at the shop. And he said something about, oh, see that? Easy or whatever, something he fixed, easy. And I was like, oh, easy peasy. And he goes, easy peasy. And I said, and this was like a bigger guy, so funny. I said, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And he looked at me and I said, you're supposed to say lemon squeezy. He was like, I'm not saying lemon squeezy. He was a good-humored guy. It was hilarious, this big old guy. I'm not saying lemon squeezy. I just rolled laughing. I had some repair guys out here this morning. My spigot outside, which for some reason my brain has been frozen and I keep calling it a faucet. It's my outdoor spigot. They probably think I'm just loony. Anyways, it was not working. I had to call a repair team out here, like some big old deal, you know, service call. And the questions, you know, questions start up. So what do you know, what kind of sewing do you do or whatever? And I was like, I'm only bridal. And I said, that's why I don't have a sign. I'm only bridal, I'm by appointment only, and I just don't want to be interrupted by people asking if I hem pants. Let me know in the comments if you're bridal only, by the way. And it's okay. It's okay if you're not. I just would like to know. So anyways, I said, I said, can you imagine? And they shook their heads no, like in disgust about hemming pants. These worker guys, like in their worker uniform, out there sweating, covered in dirt, and they're like, mm-mm. I said, I just could not hem pants. And the old man, he makes this like stank face, you know, shaking his head no, making this stank face. And he says, oh no, and you couldn't even make any money at that. It was so funny. Which you actually can. You can make good money hemming pants, like kind of if you have it set up, and you've got like a good, reliable blind hemmer, and you get your work order set up in order of color, so you're not switching threads. You can actually you can really get on a roll and do it. It's just, I can't imagine doing it for a living. I would go crazy. But I thought it was so funny that here they're crawling around in septic systems and God knows what. And I was like, can you imagine him in pants? And they're like, oh, no. Oh. I said, I might as well work at a meat packing plant. Oh. All right, so I'm capping the bones. Capping the bones here, people. All right, and if you notice, I'm kind of trimming away the sides. I want these pretty low profile because this is, these are pretty lightweight bones. And do keep in mind though, it's not gonna super matter. Like what I'm doing is not really gonna be seen. It's gonna be between the layers. You're getting ready to see that. I'm gonna put them between the layers, but then also the caps are kind of at the outer edges. So they're really not gonna influence any part of the boning that's gonna be, any part of the modesty panel that's gonna be seen. All right, so then what you do is to the wrong side, you're gonna go across the top. And I'm still using this left invisible zipper foot or left narrow zipper foot, whatever you wanna call it. Everywhere I look, it's called something different. And I just put the right one on. It's not what I want. I want this with the two sides on it. I think this is just the narrow, what do they call it? Narrow left-right zipper foot? I don't know. Everything is different. I did tell you guys though, I learned when I was at a sewing parts store in Manhattan a couple weeks ago in the garment district. I asked the guy, I said, now how do you know if it's the left zipper foot or the right zipper foot? Because what does it go by? Does it go by like the side of the zipper you're sewing? Is it like what side of the needle or what is it? This is what I'm talking about, guys, you know. See how the hole is like on one side or the other? So he said it's named after the side the needle goes down on. So this is your left, is what he was saying. And that's your right. Now, if I walk into the next shop, they'll probably tell me the opposite, but I felt satisfied for the time being. I was like, oh, okay, I know what's going on now. But I feel like, you know, a lot of this stuff we order catalogs or you just buy something off a wall in some sewing shop or whatever, and you're really at the mercy of how they named it. And I feel like a lot of that is kind of like tradition. It's like how we heard it, what we heard it called. And it's, it can really have some variance to it. All right, so then I'm just gonna do down here. You can put it all the way at the bottom. The reason why I'm not putting this all the way at the bottom, well, obviously I would have had to cut it more narrow for that, but I feel like that could be getting like uncomfortable for her, like tickling her, if that makes sense without getting too blunt there. I didn't want to have that kind of interfering down there, so here's this. And don't forget, if you're new here, welcome. Hit subscribe. I would love to have you. We do this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can come sew with me. All right, so this is how we do this. And I'm not sure if this iron will reach. This iron has an impossibly short cord. Just want to heat those up just a little bit. Okay. Let's kind of get them a little bit straight. It actually does not super matter. If you skip this and you don't press them straight, it's fine. you're gonna have more trouble sewing them if you have like a home sewing machine that doesn't have a lot of pressure. This is your pressure adjustment. If it doesn't have a lot of pressure here, you're gonna have more trouble with like fighting it. But that's all. All right, so now we're gonna put the pretty sides together, or as they used to say when you're learning to sew, right sides together, patterns say that. I'm gonna barely start at this corner and just really kind of lock this in, all right? And then I'm gonna come over here. I'm not gonna do much seam allowance. We're talking like maybe 1/4 of an inch, not much. I'm gonna go up to this corner, sink that needle down in there, rotate, and do again. I want to show you how I get my corners nice and crisp. I'm going to show you the shape that I cut them in. I don't normally see that shape, so I want to share that with you. All right, I'm going to go around this corner and I'm going to really lock it again, because when I go to turn this right side out, this is going to be kind of my weakest link. It's going to want to start unraveling, and we don't want that. I also don't really want these fraying too much either. So there we go. All right, this is how I like to cut my corners. I come in really close to the seam like that, really close to the seam like that, and I kind of swoop out. Let me know if that's how you cut them, or if you just do cut the square off the end there. Really close to the seam and flare out. All right, and then you can also do this just to really make sure nothing's gonna fray at that corner. And then some people even sew like a little thread, like right through here, just like a loose piece of thread between the layers, so that when they turn it, they can pull. I don't need to do all that. I'm not making pointed collars on men's shirts, so I'm not too concerned. All right, so I'm gonna start this way, and then I push the boning up through. So don't be shy, okay? At this point, a lot of times when people start to sew bridal, they're like, oh, I don't wanna hurt it. I don't wanna force it. It's gonna, no. You're not gonna hurt it, because that's why we really locked the stitches on those corners, remember? And we're stuffing the boning tips in, so that way we're kind of forcing it to work through at an angle. See that? Everything's gonna be all right. You're not gonna hurt it. All right, let's get this turned. We're almost there. Almost there. There we go. Drop in the comments if you have any questions, please. I would love to help clarify things for you. Okay, so now what we can do, if you need to pick a corner out, I just grab it with a pen and just pick a corner out a little bit. No big deal. Okay, so we got this, and we're gonna fold this in like this. Get all the air out of it. You can get the air out of it later if you need to, but it's easier if you do it now. And really just come across, just run off that edge. Get that nice and crisp. I'm gonna use my iron off frame here just for a second, and then I'm gonna read your comments, and then we're going to sew this in. Just gonna press these corners and these seams, make them nice and sharp. I'm sparing you from my earthquake. When I move the tripod, it's like an earthquake. All right. Pretty as a picture, huh? So this is what faces the outside. That's what faces her back, okay? Let's see. Vanessa went bridal only in January. It's awesome. Work abounds and so much fun. It's true. More brides come to you when you're exclusively bridal. Does anyone else do skin match modesty panels with the more open lacing? Oh, yeah. That's so popular. Christy, hello. She says, hi. I've enjoyed watching your videos and also learning. Laura says, this is interesting. I use a heavier weight interfacing. Yep. Sometimes I do too. If it's more of a stronger kind of corset, you can put a layer of interfacing in there. Absolutely. So Vanessa's going to try that corner trick. All right, guys, let's get ready to put this in. Are we ready? Send me a check mark emoji. If you go to your emoji buttons and you search the word check, it'll give you that check mark. All right, so I'm going to show you how we're going to put this in. Remember, this is the part facing out. So we're going to go like this, and you can sew it in like really sure all the way down if you want. But remember, I said I'm going to show you how to sew the panel in correctly. You don't have to sew this thing in like it's got to make it through the end of the world. You don't have to do that in order to sew it in correctly, okay? The main thing is this top corner right here. It really matters, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm really locking this knot. I'm going to sew in this top corner. Like this is just a big deal right here, okay? Because this is the one it's going to be swinging around on when it's not hooked. All right. So I've got that sewn. Now I'm going to take a second new piece of thread to sew it down. That way, if one thread breaks, the whole shebang doesn't fly loose. All right, here we go. So basically what we want to do is we want to match this angle, and we want where this modesty panel terminates to be around the center of the modesty panel. See that? So that puts it about right here. Ooh, this pen is a little dull. Put it here and here. We're just gonna kind of mark that. You don't have to do that. I just wanted you to be able to see that angle. Now I'm gonna start sewing right above that tack. So we're really protecting that tack, aren't we? I'm gonna lock that knot. It's almost the weekend, guys. Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely so curious about this. Are you open on Saturdays? So for years, I have been open on Saturdays. I'm not open every Saturday. Like during peak bridal season, that would be like May, June, October. A lot of times I have to be open like right leading up to that, maybe 3 Saturdays a month. But I try to just be open mostly every other Saturday. And then if it's the dead of winter, I could do maybe like 1 Saturday a month if it's like December or January, okay? But otherwise, I'm pretty much here at least every other Saturday. Why is this thread wants to like jump ahead? And I've heard more and more seamstresses saying they just refuse to work on a Saturday. And you know how when you think ahead as a business owner, you just anticipate like we're gonna have rioting in the streets if I do this or that. And then when you go to do the thing, it's really not that bad. I'm wondering if it's that, I wonder if it's going to be like that. Like, if I get to the point where I want to be closed on Saturdays, are my brides going to be like, okay, I don't know. I'm mostly open on Thursday evenings, Fridays all day, and then Saturdays 10 to 6. That's my schedule typically. All right, so for this part, this is what is so mind-bending about corsets, is you see a corset come from the manufacturer and it just has a set of snaps, just one. And it's like, but corsets could do like this. Like, I don't know about that. This is the way I prep my corset. My call's almost over, so if you guys have a question, go ahead and drop it in the comments. I'm not going to show you sewing this snap in, because what I do is, first of all, I like to get the large nylon snaps. I do not like to use the itty bitties, okay? Not for this application. But what I like to do is the one that has the popping out part in the center, put that on the modesty panel. And then I would like to have a couple of different ones that are the receiving snaps, okay? You can do that, so that way it can adjust. But I'm not really sure where to put it until I see the bride in this and we hook it up for the first time. I want to make sure it's aligned no matter what size she ends up wearing it at. So that is very customized in my shop, all right? Now, the hair-raising fact is, if you don't put a snap on the side, or if the snap breaks, most of the time, it's not the end of the world. Most of the time, the pressure of the corset and having this stability here will keep it in place. So just a little bit of peace of mind for you if that happens, not the end of the world. It could still technically be like the correct way of putting it in, as long as it stays put. That's the big thing, right? Let me just check the comments real quick. Drop some heart emojis in the comment and in the chat for me, if you don't mind. Just heart, 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 and it will help this live stream so much. All right, I think that's everything. I don't see any questions. Thank you guys so much for the hearts. They really do help, and they continue to help after I sign off. YouTube is like, oh great, these people loved this. So thank you so much for all that interaction, guys. I hope you have a lovely, lovely weekend. I hope it's not too hot. And Janet, I hope you can breathe okay in all that hot, thin air out in California. You guys take care. Thank you, Laura, for the hibiscus flower as well. Bye.